My guest this morning as a part of my Women's History Month theme is Dr. Geneva Jones Williams. And Dr. Geneva Jones Williams is an impact leadership expert, certified life coach, podcaster, author, and speaker that helps successful women over 50. All right now, create, quote, next step, unquote, game plans for living a vibrant life full of meaning, passion, impact, fun, and joy. She is a trailblazer who has been the first African-American and woman of many titles throughout her career. She's been an executive, CEO, school superintendent, and led the start and merger of many nonprofit organizations. She won a beauty pageant back in the 60s, Miss Black Fit and Fine. I know that's right. And have been featured on a recurring TV commercial showcasing her vibrant life. She sits on numerous boards of organizations. She leads public and private partnerships, serves as guest lecturers at universities, and so much more. Her life's work has always been about inspiring and creating a positive individual and community change. And now she focuses on you. Why you? Her goal is to get you to the point where you're no longer sitting there day after day, spending the second half of your life trying to figure out how to keep looking good, feeling good, loving good, and being good. She's here to show you how exactly you can create a life that inspires you to keep living, loving, and thriving. She knows that what you're going through because she's been there, done that. She's used to being successful, but she also knows the ups and downs of aging. Oh my goodness, being a mother, being a wife, starting a new career, retiring, starting a business, finding love and romance, becoming a widow, burying your parents, dating in your golden years. And what she says is this whole notion about the dash, that horizontal line you see on the cover of obituaries between the day a person was born and the day they passed away or they died, that dash is the meaning of what you represent in life. And it's not over. There's no number after it. You're still in the process of living it. So why not live it with impact? I could not agree more. How are you going to impact your personal growth and development, your career and your business, your community? What do you contribute to this world? What will your legacy be? Now you're starting to see how important that dash is. And the great thing is that you don't have to figure it all out by yourself. Dr. Williams, she's going to talk to us a little bit this morning about how you can navigate this turning point you've reached in your life so you can move forward with confidence and make your dash meaningful and full of personal, professional, and community impact. She is dedicated to helping you create a high-value personal action plan for a vibrant, happy life full of purpose and power. Ladies and gentlemen, and like I told you, go wake somebody up. Welcome to the Reading Circle microphones, Dr. Geneva Jones Williams. Dr. Geneva, good morning.
Well, good morning, Mark. You know, after that introduction, I know I am up and ready to go. Thank you so much. How are you over there in New Jersey?
Well, I tell you, like I told you when we were on the phone before we got on the air, after I heard your voice, I literally kicked up a notch. I am doing wonderful.
Good.
And I'm
Great.
so glad that you have the opportunity to join me this morning. And again, you are part of my Women's History Month series for this month. And I know this is going to be a good one. I'm telling you, listening audience, especially if you're female and you know other females, this is your chance to get on that telephone line. And just like if you were gossiping with a good, juicy piece of gossip, get on there and tell them to tune in to gobrave.org on their computers. If they live near you up here in New Jersey, tell them to get on 88.7 FM on their radio. All right. Do that because this is going to be, and then if worse come to worse, they can always go to my YouTube channel because I do record it. And they can catch the archive there. But I can tell you now, this is going to be a fun interview. I'm going to tell you why. Because we're talking about things that, first off, folks really don't like to talk about per se, which is aging. And the truth of the matter is, aging is a part of life. There's only one way not to age, and that's to die early. So the fact that you're still here, we need to be thankful and grateful. And as she's saying, make an impact and maximize it. And see, this is the thing. And I know Dr. Williams is going to agree with this. Dr. Geneva is going to agree with this in terms of each age life begins at. So in other words, I know whenever I turned 40, I was telling folks right off the bat, life begins at 40. And then whenever I turned 50, right, and when I turned 50, I said, life begins at 50. And I'll be 60 in another year or so. I'm going to be saying life begins at 60. I mean, it really is. We talked this morning about mindset and perspective and mental attitude. That's what I have a feeling as we go down this road that we're going to talk a little bit about. Because again, she says she's helped successful women over 50 create the next step. So come on, Dr. Geneva, let's talk. First off, let's talk about let's go back in your bio a little bit, because I'm seeing here in terms of winning beauty pageants and being superintendents of schools and CEOs and executives. Where did all that, and she told me she was a homegirl from New Jersey, that she's
That's right.
From here in Jersey. Where did that all start? Talk to me a little bit about where did this mindset and drive and thought process come from?
Well, Mark, you're right. I'm a New Jersey homegirl, and born and raised in Neptune on the Jersey Shore, right in the middle of New Jersey, about an hour or so from New York and an hour from Atlantic City, right there on the shore. And I grew up in a caring community of adults. I really did. And, I used to say, my sister and I used to say all the time that we thought that all of the adults in the community went somewhere and had a meeting on us because they knew all our business and they wouldn't stop asking questions, giving endless advice and how were our grades and, what college were we planning to go to? And, they were always in our business and they seemed to know everything about us and always wanted to care for us and wrap our own arms around us. I used to think it was a conspiracy, and today I know it was about community, and where adults had a very clear notion about what was valued and how they wanted children in the community to grow up and be productive and succeed. And every adult would communicate that in one way or another, whether it was the school janitor or the people who ran the candy store at the corner I used to be at all the time. It didn't matter. Teachers, anyone. Always it seemed that adults knew what was important and valued. So I grew up in this caring community of adults, coupled with watching almost every day my parents, who were ordinary people, Mark. My mom was a school teacher, one of the best, and my dad was a government worker. But they were, even though they were ordinary people, they did extraordinary things. And they believed in that part of their responsibility was to fight for social justice and make sure that others had opportunity. So they continued to work in education, employment, and housing throughout their lives, making a difference. So with those two things, the social justice, role modeling, the courage, the leadership that my parents showed me every day, and in a community where all adults seemed to care what I did, that kind of shaped my view and my life, that it really is about how you can use whatever talents you have, whatever gifts you have, to make a difference, to make a positive difference, both in yourself as well as helping others in the community. So I give it all back to those, to my parents and those, friends and adults that, helped raise me and whose shoulders I stand on.
Absolutely. And what you described was back in that time frame of you really could not do anything that your parents didn't find out about, because like you said, everybody was watching. And the other thing is parents gave permission to neighbors and community folks to chastise you if need be, and then let them know, and then they would chastise you. So
absolutely. That's the way it was.
Absolutely. And we have, in terms of over time, things have changed, sadly, to a degree. We still have our communities. They just kind of operate a little bit differently. Again, we kind of moved to that don't you say nothing about my child type thing. But I don't know if that's hurt us or helped us. Or actually, I do know, but I won't go into that here. But what Dr. Williams just described was, I grew up that same way. I mean, we're not that far age part. I mean, so I understand exactly where she's coming from and growing up in a very similar type. I remember, I tell folks to this day, especially when I'm talking to my students and everything, my parents went to all of the back to school nights, all the report card nights, and like clockwork and like a script, before they walked out of that classroom, every class, they told the teacher, this is our number. If Mark gets out of line, you do what you need to do here at the school, and then you give us a call, and we're going to do what we need to do at home. Now, you can rest assured Mark was not stupid enough that he was going to get his behind beat twice. And because at that time, the teachers could. I mean, each one of my teachers, and I can name them going up the line, had their own little thing. I had a second grade teacher who would put you in the closet. I had a third grade teacher who would twist your ear. I had one teacher who would thump you on the forehead. I mean, they had their little, we can't do that now because we can't touch them. It's capital punishment and all this other kind of stuff. But back in that time, back in the 60s and 70s, oh yeah, the teachers could. And so each one of them had their thing. So I was not going to suffer through whatever their thing was, whether it was the twisting of the ear or being put in the closet, and then get home and get the belt. No.
And get it again. That's right. That's
absolutely.
Right. So and it's really something about how we remember today the impact that those teachers, now you can call their names, you can see their faces, you can remember what they did, and that, Mark, I think is the secret of the influence that particularly positive role models can have on us, and so it makes a difference. No. And so I've spent my life trying to recreate that community consensus about what's important and how we can use our gifts and talents to create positive change.
Absolutely. And again, we're talking because we're going to work our way up to talking about 50 and over. My second grade teacher was 10 years ago, almost 10 years now, not quite. It will be 10 years in another few months, but was at my 50th birthday party. My second grade teacher, Ms. Royster. Always loved Ms. Royster.
You remember her.
Oh, yes. But she was my second. Yeah. Think about that, listening audience. My second grade teacher was at my 50th birthday party. You have no idea, first off, what that does for those of us who teach. Whenever we have the opportunity to see our students become adults, and many of my teachers, actually, I became colleagues with whenever I entered the field of education. And you have no idea what that does for a teacher. Exactly what Dr. Geneva and I are talking about right now. But also what it does, I mean, you have no idea what it did for me to see Miss Royster at my party. And so, because think about it now, second grade, you were about what, 6, 7, 8 years old? And I just told you my second grade teacher was at my 50th birthday party. All right. That's the kind of influence that she's talking about. So now, I want to shift gears a little bit because I'm going through your bio. And I see now the Ms. Black Fit and Fine Beauty pageant. Talk to me a little bit about how did you work your way, or how did you decide that you wanted to be a part of that?
Wow. Yeah. So, Mark, that was really part of a changing that I was going through. When you turn 50, one of the first things you say is, at least I did, well, this is half a century I've been living.
Right.
I should be knowing more, doing more, and then wondering, have I done enough?
Right.
And so those questions kind of swirl through your mind. At the same time, your body is changing. Your relationships are probably shifting. Either with your significant other or your children, because they're going off into their own lives.
Right.
Or you're taking care of someone, particularly if you're a woman. You're probably taking care of aging parents or children or maybe even grandchildren. So there's a lot going on, a lot of changes, a lot of, what's happening. And you often wondering, what comes next? What do I do next? Because I don't want to be done yet. And so many of us, too, have dreams that at that point, when we turn that 50, we say, well, I sure would like to do what I've been dreaming about. So I was going through all of that and then had some life-changing incidents. I'm really a late life. I was a late life beauty queen, Mark, as well as a late life entrepreneur.
That's all right with me.
In my 60s, I decided to leave a 40-year career being a nonprofit executive and leader, raising millions of dollars for community initiatives and running foundations and helping organizations with community action plans. I decided to leave that and step into the entrepreneurial world because I wanted to run my own business and have my own platform so I could reach many, many more people. And about 2 months after I hung up my shingle, my husband got his first diagnosis of cancer.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Shortly thereafter, my mom got sick and then my dad. And I started on this journey of caregiving and travel because, I'm in Detroit. My parents are in New Jersey. So I was traveling back and forth, caregiving as well as my husband here. And I went through, a couple of years of that constant stress.
Right.
Back and forth and, just a really at the same time had opened this new business. And, but then, both my husband and my mom and dad, they all passed within really months of each other.
Wow.
So I ended up going into this deep, dark fog. And, that grieving and that loss, and you don't know what you can do. I just didn't know anything. And that's really when I discovered the dash that you talked about in the intro, because one night I was looking at their obituaries. And Mark, I had realized that I wrote every one of them. I had never planned to be in a position like this.
Right.
I had never even dreamed or imagined what it would be like to not have those three people who were always in my life forever. They were always there. I'd never spent a day without one of them. And I was looking at their obituaries and crying, of course. I was in a constant state of doing that. And I noticed that each one of them had that horizontal stroke, that dash, in between the day they were born and when they passed. That's what they had in common. And all of a sudden, an aha moment came to me because I realized that in that dash was their meaning, their purpose, the reason that I loved them. It was their living.
That's right.
So that dash represents our living. And Mark, in that moment, I said, you know what? I got to keep on living. I got to keep on meaning and I got to have my purpose. So I reimagined my life. I had to reinvent myself. I had to just start doing things out of my comfort zone. I had to, make a game plan for the rest of my life. I had to figure out what was next. I had to pull myself up. I had to do those things. And one of the things that I did, Mark, was to do things that would purposely put me out of my comfort zone, and deciding to enter this beauty pageant was one of them. So you may say, well, beauty pageant, that's, no, it was really about, I had never been in nothing like that I could remember.
Correct.
The contestants were all young things. They were in their 40s and 50s for the most part. Okay? I'm in my late 60s. And Mark, I am a curvy woman.
Go ahead now. I hear you.
These sisters were 5 and size 6 and size 10, right? And
Right.
so I mean, when you talk of outside of your comfort zone, I mean, I was way out there, okay? But the pageant wasn't about beauty. It was really about this woman who ran a string of boutiques, fashion. Used to see African American women coming into her stores who were aging just
Right.
fine, and they was looking so good. So she wanted to put together a pageant to celebrate aging vibrantly.
Yes.
And how we can do that, and how we need to take care of ourselves and be healthy. So when I heard the mission of that, and because, my career was, I dealt with a lot of social issues and working in the community for positive differences, I just aligned with the mission. And so that got me to say, okay, I'm going to do that. This really pushed me over the edge, and I competed and I won. And it was just amazing. But Mark, it really was about me doing something outside of my comfort zone that challenged me, that helped me realize that I wasn't done yet.
And see, that to me is the upshot of everything you're now doing, especially like in the first line when you're saying to help folks over 50. And I started laughing when you were talking about the contest, when you said young thing, and then you said 40 and 50. And that's because usually when people hear young thing, they think in 20 and 25, and you said 40 and 50. You said young thing, like, all right now. But in terms, but that's the excitement of it. And because see, this is the thing, people, unfortunately, and this is men and women, they get to certain ages, and for whatever reason, even though they're still on the planet, they died. And my thing, I'm like you, this is what I always tell people, and I've said it here on the show multiple times. My goal is to be at least 100 and healthy. And
healthy.
Exactly, 100 and healthy.
That's
and
the
I
key.
said, I have no idea what God's plans are. He probably laughs whenever I say that. But I said, that's what I tell people all the time. My goal is to be 100 and healthy. Because I'm like you, and I end the show, my ending of every show, I always say, may you live as long as you want and not want as long as you live. Live each day as if it were your last, because one day it will be. And I'm trying to encourage folks to do exactly what you're saying, which is live. Like, there's no reason to get to an age 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, and get to that point and say, well, I'm this age, so I can't do.
Right.
It's kind of like, like you just said, start looking for things that's going to take you out of your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And one of the things, it's so funny, Mark, and I think it was Mickey Rooney who said, somebody said, everybody wants to live a long life.
Right.
But don't nobody want to grow old.
Right.
You know what? We had this fear, this myth about growing old. And it was interesting because one of the things I did when I made that 50th and I was going through, what am I going to do, et cetera, and was really, kind of thinking about all that. One of the things I said to myself was, okay, if I vision myself in the future, I do want to live a long life like you're talking about. I want to live a long life, but I want to live it in good health.
Yes.
And I want to, and I said 3 things, Mark. I want to look good, I want to feel good, and I want to do good.
All right. Now, you're preaching now. Go ahead. I hear you.
Okay.
I know that's right.
When I came those things, that became like my mantra. And I want to say a little bit about that, because the looking good, Mark, isn't just about the your physical appearance, but it really is about the confidence and vibrancy that you feel inside.
Yes.
And how it radiates.
Yes.
And just comes out in your skin and the way you show up and the conversations that you hold. So it talks about you owning the room and having that confidence and sparkling with energy and passion and So that's what I mean when I say look good. And then when I talk about feel good, yes, I'm talking about that health. It's important for us to take care of ourselves. But also when you feel good, you do know who you are and what you stand for. You've got your game plan, and you kind of feel balanced, and you make yourself a priority, which is something particularly women perhaps haven't done in the first 50 years of their life. They're so busy taking care of others, making their career, doing all those things that perhaps they haven't taken care of and made themselves a priority. But when you feel good about yourself, you do that. And the do-good part, for me, Mark, is about that you perform better for yourself. You do good for yourself and for others, so that you show up for the things that matter. You speak up, but you also, Mark, are in this space where you give back, you give to your community, and you realize, Mark, how important legacy is.
That's right.
So this looking, feeling, and doing good, that's how I describe, for me, a vibrant life. And so that's what I, set out to say that, for this next century, this next half century.
Right.
That's what I'm going to be doing, Mark.
And I tell you what, I'm going to join you in that one. And you're absolutely right, Andrea. A lot of times people think when you say look good that you're talking about just the physical features of it, but you're absolutely, in terms of, it's not the exterior beauty you're talking about the internal beauty. And the internal, like you said, radiates to the external. And that requires the other two.
Yeah, now, don't get me wrong. Now, us women, we looking good now. I mean, we need to keep up the hair, and the nails, and have the right cut, and wear them fine outfits. Don't get me wrong. I have not put that away.
I hear you.
Okay. All right. So because we are just as fine as we can be.
I know. I hear you, and as the kids,
as we age.
I hear you, and as the kids can say, I ain't mad at you.
That's right.
I notice, and see, for those of you on the call, this is what we're talking about, is life. Because first off, none of us are promised, we don't know when. We really don't. But why not live every day? Be alive every day. And I love the fact that like you said, talking about career changes, so forth and so on. And I'm not judging or mad at or anything with folks who have been able to do one thing their entire life. That was their track. But I'm like you. I've had a career change as well. I've done a lot of different things that I just wanted to do. People looking and say, "Why did you do that?" Because I wanted to. They actually thought I was crazy. When I left and went in the military because I love jets, they thought I was crazy. Like, why'd you do that? Because I wanted to. Whenever I left corporate and I went to education, I'm like, wait, you took a 50% pay cut to go there? Yes. Why'd you do it? Because I wanted to. So I understand and can totally relate to what you're talking about. And then at the same time, as we are aging, you have folks that, as I said earlier, that actually feel that as they now climb this ladder, 50, 60, 70, that they need to stop living. And that part I don't quite get either. Now, I understand sometimes with their health challenges and issues where you just really, from a physical standpoint, just don't feel like doing it. But when you start taking on mental, because of my age, matter of fact, you won't hear me say I'm old. You're not going to hear me talking about I'm old and all that kind of stuff. Not from the standpoint of where I hear folks talking about where memory of this. Oh, I'm old. I'm like, wait a minute. Wait. First off, whatever you keep saying is what you keep drawing to yourself. I read that this morning in the opening at 6:00 this morning. But it's funny enough. This past, 2020 was supposed to be my 40th high school class reunion. Because of COVID, we weren't able to do it. But what we did was every 2 weeks we get on a Zoom call, a lot of the classmates.
Oh.
So we get together, and it's actually going to wind up being in 2022 now. We pushed it all the way out to October of 2022. But in the meantime, we all get together, as many of us as possible, every 2 weeks on a Thursday night on a Zoom call where we just chat and talk how things going. And so one of my classmates works in the senior citizen home, and she has a conference call with the seniors, I guess on the same Thursday night that we have our conference call with the classmates. So she jumps in late and says, "Oh my God, I just got off the old lady call." And I just bust out laughing. I said, "Well, what's the old lady call? I said, you do understand that in a few years, matter of fact, depending on the age group, we're considered the old man and old woman call right now. And in 10, 20 years, we're going to be that old lady call you talking about.
Exactly. And that's what I mean about, we all want to live long lives. But, we have this thing about growing old.
Right.
And a lot has to do with the language we use.
Yes.
And how we perceive when you get a certain age what's going to happen, and et cetera. And the thing about it, Mark, is I've come to learn, and the clients and the women in particular that I work with have seen the change, is that you can create your own life.
Correct.
You can design it. You, in fact, can, change careers. You can travel. You can take on new hobbies. You can learn new things. You, in fact, can do it. You can continue to work. You can be retired and be vibrant. You can. It's your choice.
Correct.
And it really is your choice. And life begins every day, because every day, Mark, we get older.
That's correct.
You do. That's what you do, and so being intentional about it, I think, is so important, Mark. And so that's one of the things I put together, this Vibrant Life Blueprint, which is a step-by-step process that you can go through to design your life. And, it really starts with vision, imagining your life and putting together the goals and really doing some self-care things that can keep you vibrant. And as women who, it's an online course, and so as women who go on the course and, take it, they're always coming back to me saying, wow, I really didn't stop and think about how I really can design my own life. And this is our time, and this is the time to do it, Mark.
You're absolutely right. As a matter of fact, I'm loving what I'm hearing from you, because for me, that is not applying just for women, even though I know I schedule for Women's History Month. I'm sitting here listening to what you're saying for me. And I
right. That's cool.
And I love
and so many people tell me, and particularly guys, are saying that to me, Mark. Brothers, I did this event for AARP about the same kind of thing we're talking about how to put together a vision. Because so many people say, well, how do I even imagine something different? So I have these very simple yet powerful steps that you can use. And Mark, most of the comments I got were from men who were asking, the questions, well, can you tell me that step again? Or, how do I do that? Or how do I find the list of values? Because I talk about how you can identify your core values and how that's so important to a vision. So most of the questions were from men. So my team and my friends are telling me, yes, we know you want to help women over because you're a woman and, but your message is universal.
No, it really is. And the thing is, as I said, first off, I love your word choice. And that is the whole thing about, especially how you connected the word vibrant to retirement, because you encapsulated what I've always tried to describe in other words whenever I tell people, look, yeah, I'm looking forward to retirement only because I don't necessarily want to punch somebody else's clock. Retirement doesn't mean I'm just going to go sit on the couch once I no longer have to go to work. I am looking forward to retirement because at that point I can either do more radio or I can do some other things that I really love doing. So the fact that you said retired and vibrant, I like that. That's going to stick with me. I'm going to put that down. That's one of my goals is to be retired and vibrant, because unfortunately for a lot of folks, and I've seen it, I've experienced it in terms of family members and friends, when they retire, they die soon thereafter. Literally. And I don't mean die and they're still alive. I mean literally. Like I have a principal colleague of mine who retired in January and was dead by July. So it's like that's not what I'm looking for in terms of retirement. That like I'm going to retire 1 month and then die the next. I want exactly what you just said: retire and be vibrant. That's what I'm looking for. So I like the way you put those two together. I'm gonna put that on my vision board. I put that down in my journal or somewhere. Retired and vibrant.
Yes.
Like you say, do good.
Mark, that's right. We can plan, and see, that's the thing when we talk about choice. We can plan for that. So when I was this event that I was mentioning, this training that I'm doing for AARP, and it's 3 sessions. So I did this first one last week, and I talked about imagine you jump out of bed every morning with joy and purpose, and you know what you're going to do instead of worrying about or wondering about, well, what the heck am I going to do next in my life? And I said, if you jump out the bed like that every morning and you have your joy and purpose, I bet you got a plan. And if you don't have a plan, then what you need to do is start thinking about putting together a plan, choosing to design your life. And every plan, Mark, starts with a vision.
Correct.
So that's how I got into talking about, vision and how you do that and how you imagine. And there are some very definite steps that you can take. But I tell people, have a plan. Put together a plan. And, this will help you with your steps, with your direction, wherever you want to go. And, that plan, again, starts with a vision, includes your goals, your action plan, your action steps, what you're going to do, your time frame, how you're going to be accountable, some self-care. You put all that together, and it can make a difference for you. It really can change your life.
Well, that's the other thing that leaped out at me in this conversation, because, again, having been in corporate, we've always had to do marketing plans and this plan and that plan. Having been in education, we've always had to do plans, lesson plans. As a principal, we do building plans and administrative goals and this. But you never thought in terms of, well, okay, I've hit 50. I want to do my next 50-year plan. My next decade, and see, that's something like we don't think in terms of, we do that for work, but in terms of what you were just describing for our lives, I don't think too many people do that. And I think for those who do, they probably are going through that vibrancy and doing things as what you're describing. I mean, that's a very good point in terms of just sitting down and have a vision.
That's right. And you know what, Mark? That's how I came to where I put together my plan for me, what I call a personal action plan. So I started, I thought I was going to be a teacher like my mom. And so because, she was the best, like we were talking about,
right,
had an impact. And everybody, people used to come up, still today, and she's long gone. But today I can go and visit my hometown and I'll run into someone who talked about her. And who said, I was in Miss Jones' first grade class.
Right.
I still remember, just like you talked about your second grade teacher who came to your 50th birthday party.
Right.
That's how they used to talk about my mom. So Mark, growing up, I was going to be a teacher like her.
That's right.
But then I went to Morgan, HBCU, Morgan State University, Baltimore.
All right now.
All right. So I went to Morgan, and they send you into a practicum. And once I got into the classroom, I found I did not have those gifts that my mom had. So I knew I had to do something different. And after I left school, a sorority sister of mine, Kappa Alpha.
Oh, get out of here. You AKA?
Oh, yeah.
Not only are you a homegirl, you a sister, because I'm A Phi A.
Well, let me tell you this, okay? When I was at Morgan, I was Alpha Phi Alpha sweetheart.
All right now.
Okay, A5A. Yes,
I have to ski wee.
okay. All right, ski wee. That's right. And so now I'm a golden soror, which is
I know that's right.
or who's been in the service of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority for more than 50 years.
All right now.
All right. Yes.
I have to give you the snaps. There you go. I'm giving you the snaps right here on the air. All right now.
Hey, I hear it and feel it. So my sorority sister said to me, you should go to Bryn Mawr, because Bryn Mawr is giving out scholarships and tuition to black students because they were trying to diversify. And this was in the days of affirmative action.
Right.
Universities and colleges were trying to, diversify their enrollment, and were putting money there for scholarships for blacks. And they were going out finding blacks. And I had never heard of a Bryn Mawr. I had never heard, I knew of social work, but I had never even considered social work. But I needed to do something. So I stumbled into that, ended up going into community organization and social planning and policy, and got into working with communities and organizations around visioning a better community, or visioning a better workplace, or visioning a better neighborhood. And so they were all into this. So I got steeped into, and that's what I did for like 40 years, because
Right.
when I went to United Way, it was the same kind of thing, putting together these community action plans so that neighbors and residents and citizens could create change for the better in their community. And so this whole planning and community problem-solving process, I was steeped in and dealt with and did every single day. And it occurred to me, as I lost my parents and my husband, and I was trying to work my way out of that despair.
Right.
I said, and trying to find my dash, I said, you know what? I've been working for years with communities and organizations and citizens on how to change community for the better, how to make neighborhoods more quality, how to get the best for our kids. Why can't I use that process for me? Why can't I design not a community action plan, but a personal action plan that has the components that I use to help people change community? And so that's when I began to do that, and that's what I'm doing. That's the work I'm doing now. So I transferred what the skills I had, what I learned from people, how I saw transformative change occur, and just transferred that into the work that I'm doing today with individuals and helping people individually, design their next best life.
But see, that's something that's on the surface very simple, but at the same time extremely profound. And I'll tell you why. It's just exactly what you said in terms of, I was doing this for the companies and organizations and nonprofits, never gave it any thought that, hey, wait a minute, why don't I do this personally? And I'm telling you, the average person doesn't think like that either. But that's wisdom there. And for those in the listening audience, give some thought to what Dr. Williams is saying, because I know I am. Like I said, I know it's for women, and this is really geared toward women, because if you've just joined us, and first off, I hope you've been with me since 6. But if you haven't been with me since 6, I truly hope you've been with me since 7. At 7, because that's whenever Dr. Williams joined me, and we're talking about aging. And as I said earlier, there's only one way not to age, and that's to die young. Now, my father died 1 week before his 49th birthday. Mm-hmm. He had a massive heart attack a week before his 49th birthday. My only vision and picture of him was the last time when he was 48, 49. My mother, on the other hand, now, if God willing, will be 83 in October because she's still
Oh,
alive.
what a blessing.
Exactly. So, like, I have a whole, I can't, I don't even know, I can't, I'm trying to visualize in my mind what my father would have looked like in his 80s, but the last visual I have of him is 48 years old. So, I'm saying all that to say the only way not to get old or older is to die young. And as Dr. Williams said earlier, all of us want to live a long life, but nobody wants to get old. The truth of the matter is we are getting older, but that does not mean you have to die while you're still here on the planet. And that's why I love this conversation, because one of my favorite movies is a movie about Adam Clayton Powell. It's called Keep the Faith, Baby. That's the title of the movie. And there's a line in there where Adam says, age is relative. And when you think about it, it is. And because you heard me laugh whenever Dr. Williams said she was in the beauty contest and they had these young things in there and she said 40 and 50. And I bust out laughing. But to my mom, I'm still a kid. And I don't mean just because I'm a kid, but age-wise. Right. She'll be 83. Me, I'm 58, but that's still, age is relative. So, and that's why I laughed at my classmate when she said the old lady call, because it's how you do realize that in a few years, we matter of fact, to a 25-year-old, we are that old person call right now. So, age is relative depending on what age you are, because this is the other thing on this. And I know Dr. Williams understands what I'm saying too. Yeah, when we were 20, we thought 50 was old. When we were 30, we thought 60 was old. But now that we're 50 and 60, whatever, oh, no, that's not old.
Right.
90 is old.
Exactly.
And if I have it my way, when I get 90, I'm going to be saying, no, 90 is not old. 100 is old.
That's right. and you know, that what really is, I think, super important about that is that how we live our lives now, at 50, 60, 70, 80, is going to present role modeling for younger people.
That's right.
And so that eventually we can disrupt aging. We can get rid of these old time myths and we can help younger people realize that the aging process is natural, normal, and you do want to go through it, and you can choose what it looked like.
Yes,
you can choose that.
Yes,
and that's that's something, and you can choose to live the life that you dream of. You can do that, and that has to do with personal choice and putting together an action plan. And I think there's a couple of other things, Mark, that are important as we go through this process. One is knowing your why.
Yes.
I think, and that has a lot to do with, finding your purpose, understanding your purpose. Each one of us, I believe, has at least one unique gift or talent. At least one. Lots of people have several. And discovering that gift, understanding its purpose, figuring out why you're here in life, I think is so important. And it's a process that you go through. And, Mark, it changes, because what
Correct.
you see as purpose and importance in 20 and 30, trust. When you get to 50 and 60, it probably shifts.
Correct.
In terms of, where you find your meaning, where you find your purpose, what it is you want to do. So that's okay. It's shifting and changing and evolving as you grow older. That part is okay. But discovering it and knowing it and understanding it, that's what we really have to do. So asking ourselves questions like, well, what is my purpose in life? If I could not fail, I would do what? What if I had 3 wishes? They would be. If I could wave a magic wand, I would. Those kinds of probing design, what I call life design questions. It's important to spend some time reflecting on those and doing those and creating your vision based upon a lot of what you know your purpose and meaning is.
Correct. Now, what do you say to folks that are like, we're having this wonderful conversation about aging, and you and I are in total alignment and agreement. But what do you say to the person that says, oh, you all are just talking, you're in denial?
Well, I would probably say denial of what? Because, I mean, that would be my first
right.
Denial of what? You know, denial that I want to live?
Right.
I mean, what is, I mean, I think there are few people, Mark, who if you say to them, okay, you want to die today or do you want to live?
Right.
And my choice is living.
Correct.
And so if I make that choice and I have that choice, then what's the next step? So if I want to live, for me, the question is, okay, well, how do I do that?
Correct.
Okay. So I think the denial part, Mark, is perhaps a mindset.
It is. Bingo.
Switch it around.
Right.
You know, because you can accept as easily as you can deny.
Correct.
So just for a moment, anyone who perhaps is listening to our conversation and saying, you know, y'all in denial. And I don't know what the denial is, but if you are in that, just for a moment, just switch your thinking and just ask what, I'm denying that I want to live or I'm denying that I want to die.
Right. I mean, but because, I mean, you have, like, okay, the conversation that we're having is about how to live through these various ages in terms of as we're getting older. But you'll have folks that say, well, the fact that you all want to still keep doing what you were doing when you were 20, you're denying the fact that you're 60. So it's like, well, no, I'm like you. I'm just saying this. I tell people all the time, you were talking about dreams. I am determined. I said, I don't know when, but at some point I am going to get a Porsche. And I always tell people, I don't care if I'm a 90-year-old Porsche driving, but I'm getting my Porsche at some point. I don't know when, but I know it's coming. And it might not be till I'm 90. But I would just be a 90-year-old Porsche driving man. But that's...
And I can tell you, Mark, I remember my 20s and I don't want to be in my 20s or 30s or even 40s or 50s. You know, so this conversation for me, it is not about being in my 20s or 30s. I don't want to be back there. You know, I have millennial children who are in their 20s.
Right.
And, they've been given the best foundation.
Correct.
Fabulous things. But I'm going to tell you, I would not want to be in their shoes.
I say it all the time in terms, I tell.
You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly, because I tell, and I said this because my school that I lead is grades 3 through 8. And I was having a conversation with my 5th graders one day. And I told them, I said, now look, when I say this, please don't take it as offense. I said, but if I had the opportunity to trade my childhood with yours right now, I wouldn't take it. I would not trade my time coming up as a child with you coming up now for anybody's money.
That's right. And then going through, and then the dress and everything.
Right.
Admire, but I can't see myself in that right now. No, this is not, this for me, Mark, is not a retrospective look that I want to go back to.
That's a good point.
I miss that time. This is a look forward.
Good point.
Because that's
good point.
That's where I'm going, because you age it's every day, and I want to live every day. So it's about going forward and what am I creating?
Correct.
For me.
Correct.
At this point. And that's the other thing about 20s and 30s, and that was good. The things I did, I got married in my 20s. I had my first child in my 20s. I was the first black female head of United Way in my early 40s. In my early 40s. I did so many, I love that time. But I ain't there now. What I'm doing,
that's right.
What I'm doing now is, and so I say to myself, well, if I could have done all that then, hey, what can I do now?
Correct.
This gives me this gives me the chance to build on what I know, because I'm going to tell you, Mark, the experience and wisdom I have today.
Correct.
I didn't have it back then. I
Correct.
didn't have it in my 20s. I didn't have that. I now have life experiences.
Correct.
I have tests, so I could give testimony. I have, it's those challenges and the ups and downs and the making it through and the worries and the successes and the loves and the losses and all of that gives, I think, each one of us as we age. And
Correct.
that wisdom and experience, that's what I'm building my life on now. And that's as I talk to my clients and the women that I work with, that's what it's about now.
Yes.
Using that experience, using that, because you know what, Mark, even if you wanted to, you can't be 20 again.
Correct.
It's physically impossible.
Correct.
I mean, you can't reverse you can't be like, well, I'm in my 70s now and, let me wake up tomorrow because I'm going to be a hot 23. You can't do that. So why waste your time, going through that, living in the past.
Correct.
Living in that retrospective. No, we're talking about looking forward.
Excellent point.
In the present and what's in front of us.
Excellent point.
How
And that's, again, for those
live
listening,
vibrantly.
That's another takeaway in terms of, rather than, retrospective and wishing and wanting and frustrating yourself. Because like she just said, we're not going back to 23. That's just that's just not happening.
You're not.
Right. So this is the other thing, as I'm listening to you, what came to mind was in other countries such as Africa and in our Asian countries, the older folks are revered. When you start talking about the elders and you start talking about the folk, that they're revered for the very things that you were talking about, the wisdom, the life experiences. Yet in many instances in America or in the United States, being older or aged is not revered. It's seen as a nuisance or a bother or I wish you'd go on or whatever. And that's again, from the standpoint of those of us who have the objective of being vibrant. He's like, you know what? I may be 70, but I can still do pretty much what I want to do, provided I'm not, handicapped or anything physically. But that's the mindset you got. That's my mind. It's like, you know what? I had years ago on the show, it was a young man from Baltimore who had been diagnosed with cancer. And, the doctors already told him he doesn't have long, this, that, and the other. And each time he would kind of beat it. But what he told me was, he said, you know what? I'm going to live until I die. That was the words he told me. He said, I am going to live until I die. Now, that's just that. Then to me, those words always stuck. And this interview is going back 14, 15 years ago. But those words have always stuck with me. And as I'm having this conversation with you right now, they came back up to me again. I just don't think for me life ought to be a woe is me. I don't think life ought to be, well, now I'm 60, so the world has to stop. My world stops, because that's why I told you, each time I reach one of the milestones, I said life, for me, when I turned 40, life began at 40. When I turned 50, life begins at 50. When I hit 60, life begins at 60. Excuse me. But it's about mindset. That's the other piece of it. Folks need to understand. It's about, that's why I like your words, retired and vibrant. I like that. I really do.
And what we think, what we think in our head, what we conceive about ourselves, how
Correct.
We picture ourselves is what in fact we believe. And so that's why I think that mind shift to,
yes,
okay, I can design the life I choose.
Yes.
And so then you begin to see it, conceive it in your head, and then you begin to believe it, and then you can make it happen. And some practical things, I think. Oftentimes I'm asked, okay, I get it. I'm ready to be vibrant. What do I do? And I say, again, make a plan with a vision. have some great goals, put together goals. Make sure you're taking care of yourself.
Right.
Decide what it is you want to be. You can imagine anything. I also tell folks that before you get into your planning and putting your plan together, do an inventory, kind of do a checkout of yourself in terms of what you like, what you don't like, what your strengths are, what your areas of improvement. And one of the things I tell people to do is to make a list of your accomplishments.
Correct.
Sometimes we don't take the time to sit down and write. And I'm talking about write it out.
Correct.
Grab a piece of paper and just list all the things you've done in your life that you're proud of or you're happy about. And that kind of self-reflection and giving yourself a pat on the back, I think is something that we all need to do. We need to revere ourselves and our faith in our God and what God has created because, you know, God created each one of us uniquely.
Correct.
And for us to take the time to sit down and kind of think that through, Mark, I think is important. So we find ways to love on ourselves, to, you know, be proud of ourselves as we're beginning to put together this game plan. And women are always, you know, again, you know, asking me those kinds of, you know, well, what are the practical steps? And that's why I put together the Vibrant Life Blueprint, you know, my online course for people who can actually start that process and really get there.
Well, that's an excellent segue because we're getting closer to the end. I tell you, the time will go quick. We've already.
Oh my goodness!
It's already been over an hour, and we're coming to the end. But yeah, I told you it was going to go fast. One of my listeners, who actually is one of my classmates, Anita Anderson. Big shout outs to you, Anita. She's listening, and we were talking about going back, and she sent me something. I'm going to read it. It says, "Time is like a river. You cannot touch the same water twice because the flow that has passed will never pass again. Enjoy every moment in life." That is so true.
I love that.
So, Anita, thank you for that. As you can see, I got it. I'm following my Facebook folks. But this is, see, again, and I want folks to understand what Dr. Williams and I are talking about. When we say being vibrant, the fact that we say we're being vibrant doesn't mean we want to be 20. That's a key point. The fact that we're saying we want to be vibrant at 100 does not mean that we want to be 20. So don't confuse those two. And the segue you just gave me was your materials that you put together, because I know you've written some books as well, correct?
Yes.
Talk a little bit about those, as well as the website, the program that you have online that you were just alluding to.
Oh, okay. Well, I wrote a book about living life over 50. Secrets to finding love, your vibrant style, and what's next for you. So that's the book that I wrote, and I just enjoyed it so much. But it gives all kinds of tips in very practical, simple language that you can do to, you know, enjoy and design your life over 50. And then I also give you access to a piece I put together, 101 things to do when you turn 50. And so with my book, you get that as well. And then I wrote Justice on the Jersey Shore. You know, again, that was about my dad and his work. I mentioned that earlier, that he and my mom were civil rights activists. And one of the things that he did when he was told that he could not buy a house in the neighborhood that he wanted to because he was black. In fact, they told him, well, we don't build homes for Negroes. And when he was told that, he said no. And he began a 3-year court battle to change that. And, you know, during that time, we'd get hate mail. There was a cross on our lawn. He got death threats. And but finally, the New Jersey Supreme Court ruled unanimously in his favor. And that decision was a landmark decision that changed housing discrimination laws in New Jersey back in the early 60s. And so his struggle in being that and being a leader and still being an ordinary person, Mark, who did really, extraordinary things in terms of changing things for others that he and my mother believed was part of their legacy and what they needed to do. I had one-on-one conversations about that, and so I tell his story in this Justice on the Jersey Shore book. And then I've written other books that you can find on my website at, anyone can get in touch with me at drgenevaspeaks.com and come and join my subscriber list so you can keep up with the kinds of things we're doing and can have access to tips and tools and all those kinds of things. But my books are also on Amazon, so you can go to, just put in Geneva Williams, and that'll take you directly to my Amazon author page. And my books are there. And then for Anita and others, I would love for you to join my Extraordinary Women Influencers Facebook group. Groups are the thing now, Mark. And so I set up this group about a year ago so that women could talk about and exchange tips and inspiration and insight to being the extraordinary women we are. Because, I just do believe, Mark, that, it's our time. It's always been our time, and particularly in terms of Black women.
Absolutely. So wait. Let me stop you right there. I'm gonna jump in right there because I just heard you say something. I heard you say you had a Facebook group.
Yes.
Now folks that folks at our age ain't supposed to know nothing about social media.
See, I have both a Gen X daughter and a millennial daughter, and they told me long time ago they've been schooling me, so I'm all over.
I am too. That's why I'm saying this in jest. Okay. I'm the same way.
Oh, I know that. So let me tell you. So I'm in my early 70s. But you can find me on all social media.
I know that's right.
At Dr. Geneva Speaks. Okay, so I'm on Instagram.
Go ahead now.
LinkedIn.
Yep.
Facebook. And I also have a podcast.
Yeah, see, I'm telling you, before it's over, I will have followed you on all those that you just mentioned: Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. Matter of fact, Anita says she's going to your Facebook page now. But I mean, I'm laughing.
Are you in Clubhouse?
I'm on Clubhouse as well. so you're there too.
I love it.
Because see, I'm laughing because our age group ain't supposed to know nothing about social media now.
Hey, no. Disrupt aging. That's what we're doing.
But seriously, aging. That's what we're talking about when we say vibrant. Because you don't know how many people I run into. Oh, I'm too old for that. I'm too old to be on Facebook. I'm too old to be on Twitter. Donald Trump is 74, 75. He wore Twitter out. But, I'm too old to be on. No, you're not. See, this is the mindset. This is what we're talking about in terms of mindsets. Like, if that's what you're telling yourself, then yes, you're never going to get Facebook. If you're sitting there constantly telling yourself, oh, that's for the kids, I'm too old for that. My mom's on Facebook. I tell you, she'll be 83 in October. She's on Facebook. But if you're sitting there telling yourself, oh, that YouTube, I can't. There is no reason, regardless of your age, why you can't do on Facebook or whatever. Even if you can't keyboard, you can hunt and peck to the point where to do what you need to do to get on. All right. And I'm looking at Anita's post now. She says she's going to your Facebook page right now. So,
good, wonderful. It's Extraordinary Women Influencers. That's my group, and my podcast is Ignite to Impact.
Exactly.
And I'm on my 100th and some episode.
All right now.
And I talk to people like yourself who have in fact, you got to come on my podcast.
Be more than happy to.
Now.
Yep, more than happy
but people who have a story to tell about success and failure,
right? Because
it helps others with tips and advice and strategies on how to be successful. And so, leaders are everywhere in all walks of life. And so Ignite to Impact is about, what you have, what you do, what you have, the things you've done and how you've, unleashed your influence to make positive differences. So I have great stories, and, we talk about, and my latest episode was with Mary Wilson.
All right.
Of the Supreme.
Yeah, and she just passed.
She just passed. And she and I had a great conversation on the podcast. And then Mark, she joined me in a conversation about what it is to age vibrantly. Because, she was in her 70s.
I know, and Mary was fine too.
But when you look at fine as one,
right? That's what I said. Mary was fine too. That's right. So we had a conversation about aging vibrantly and what that is. So that was one of my podcasts. So. Oh, good for you! She was one of because she probably was my favorite. I read her book years ago. Probably 20, 30 years ago, I read her book. And I was saddened by her passing. And I'm not surprised, because Mary was fine as well. I'm not surprised that she would have that conversation with you, because that, just from what I knew of her and seen of her, that she exuded that. And, I'm sitting here thinking about, I remember when Ronald Reagan ran as president. At the time, he was one of the oldest ones that had run for the office, and he was running against Mondale. And I remember Reagan saying, "You know what, I won't hold your age against you." He flipped it. Because Mondale was a lot younger than him at the time, and he says, "You know what, I won't hold your age against you." So that's exactly where we are at this point with the younger folks coming through. We're not gonna hold your age against you. But in all honesty, in terms of the social media and everything, because at this point in the interview, this is where we come, where I'm going to literally shut my mic off and allow you to promote like you were just doing. But we'll do it formally in terms of your website, your book titles, how folks can get in touch with you. You can say anything, Dr. Geneva, with the exception of the pricing and dollar amount, because once folks get in touch with you, you all can work that out. But other than anything short of that, you want to shout anybody out? And while I have you, let me shout Leah Hubbard out. Tell Leah I said thank you, because I know she was. Yes. Tell Leah, because I know she was putting up with me. She probably got aggravated with me, but tell her.
Oh no, she didn't. No, we don't do that. No, she just wanted to make it. She wanted to make it good.
Now that's good. Well, you tell Leah I said thank you.
For it to be good. I will. Leah is a member of my team, and just. Listen, what I would just like to say in closing is, frankly, how much I have certainly enjoyed this conversation, because you've given me another opportunity to get this message out about, you can design the life you love. You
Absolutely.
Can create it. It's yours to do. And if you want help in that, particularly if you're looking for, well, what do I do next? And you want help in designing a game plan, www.drgenevaspeaks. You can find me there. That's my website. You can sign up for that. But also take a special look at my Vibrant Life Blueprint. Mark put it on sale last week, and so it's really a great bargain if you're interested in the real practical steps to design your what's next. But this has been such a great opportunity to really, this is why I left my nonprofit career and decided to become an entrepreneur.
Right.
Because I wanted to have opportunities like this, Mark, to talk to people all over the country, to help, us have these conversations about the impact that we can make, and we can do it at any age.
Correct.
And that's the thing. So there's these opportunities for us There's impact to be made. There's legacy to be left, and we can do it at any age. I tell my young leaders, because I also do nonprofit consulting with nonprofits, and so oftentimes leaders who are running these nonprofit organizations will come to me for advice in strategic planning or change management. And I tell them that you develop yourself first.
Correct.
Because leadership is about self-development, who you are, know who you are. Well, the same thing goes no matter what role you play in life, knowing yourself, developing yourself. I also tell these leaders that at a young age, start developing your legacy.
Correct.
And they look at me because, they're like, we ain't thinking about that. I said, but no, because you're starting to lay the groundwork for the legacy you're going to leave.
Correct.
Because you will influence others coming up behind you, just as Mark, you and I
Correct.
are influencing others who came, just like your second grade teacher who came to your 50th birthday. She influenced you. And you
Correct.
know what? I know she came there. She came there for you, but I know there was also this feeling of pride.
Correct.
That she had in looking at you and remembering you back in second grade.
Correct.
Okay? And then looking at you now. And that's the kind of, when I talk legacy, that's what I'm talking about. So she, whatever age she was, back then when you were in the second grade, she was laying the foundation for her.
That's right. She would have been in her 20s at that point. Whenever I was in second grade, she was in her 20s. And you're absolutely right. Matter of fact, now since I was talking about her this morning, I'm going to make sure before the day is out, I give her a call.
That's right. And thank her. Yep. And thank her for laying out her legacy at that age. And that's what I say, particularly to young leaders who are creating extraordinary impact now, that do your due now. Be the best you can be credible, read and learn, know your skills, understand there's a science and an art to leadership, lead with your heart, do all that, but don't forget that everything that you do, you're laying your footprints for legacy. And think about legacy now, because it's the influence of the younger generation that really is going to make a difference. Just like you're making a difference now, there are others to come. And that's what, Mark, when you think about it, that's what so many people did for us. Correct. Absolutely. I know that's why I'm here. Same here. Yeah, I told you I was in this conference over the last 3 days, and one of the things when one of the presenters was speaking was he said the same thing that you were saying. And I had put it in the chat. That's absolutely right, because first off, no man is an island. There is no such thing as self-made. There is no such thing as, in all honesty, pulling yourself by your own bootstraps. I mean, there is no self-made. All of us stand on the shoulders of someone. All of us gave us opportunities and breaks at some point. So for those that stand up and talk about they're a self-made man or a self-made woman, that's not necessarily accurate, because we're all standing on the shoulders of somebody influenced us, or we were a part of their legacy, as you just said. Mm-hmm. So I will definitely take you up on your offer. I mean, this is like I knew. This is one of those I knew it was going to be a good interview. And then whenever I talked to you before we went on the air, I said, I know this is going to be a real good one. And then as we started talking, and you were AKA sister, and I'm an Alpha brother, girl. Jersey girl, all of that. So, so you said if you go to Amazon and put your name in, you said all your books will pop up. Yes, Geneva Williams. Geneva Williams. So go to Amazon. And in the search bar, put in Geneva Williams and all her books will pop. She also has her webpage, like she said, Dr. Geneva Speaks. Am I correct? drgenevaspeaks.com. There you go, right. Dr. And Geneva. You can find me, all my handles on all my social media platforms are Dr. Geneva speak.
Well, I tell you what, before noon, my time here, I will have followed you on. I think I am following you on a couple, but I will. If I'm not, I will have followed you on all of them before noon.
Great,
and
great.
Big shout outs
and back to you. I'll do the same.
Thank you. Mine is under Reading Circle, and I think in some of them just my name, Marc Medley. But if you see Reading Circle, that's me. And big shout outs to Pam Perry, because Pam connected me with Dr. Geneva. And Pam there's two people. There are two publicists that have carte blanche with me. It's Pam Perry and Nikki Wood. Those two, anybody they recommend, it's just a matter of getting an availability date, and whoever they recommend is on the air. So big shout outs to Pam Perry. Thank you so much for connecting me with Dr. Geneva. We definitely going to stay in touch. And
thank you. And a shout out to Pam Perry. Yes, Pam Perry is incredible. She's absolutely amazing.
Yes, she is. And so she's, I mean, there's not one guest she's recommended yet that didn't come through. So that's the other reason why I knew it was going to be good, because it was coming from Pam.
Well, it's been my pleasure, Mark.
Well, same here. As I said, tell Leah I said thank you and hello, and Pam when you talk to her. And our listening audience, as you know, I am going to archive this on my YouTube channel. So if you have folks who didn't hear it, or if you were inspired by it, whenever I get it up on YouTube, please feel free to share it. Anita Anderson, thank you so much. Big shout outs to you. Lestine Robinson, shout outs to you. Wardell Carter, shout outs to you. Mark and Butler, shout outs to you. JP and Garfield, shout outs to you. These are my listeners. These are my faithful listeners, those that I know are listening as we tune in. So all of you, we appreciate all of you. We hope you've been inspired by the show this morning, especially those of us who are in these age categories. It ain't no shame in our games, y'all. and I know that's grammatically incorrect. But ain't no shame in our games. And it shouldn't
it's
be.
All right.
Yeah, I know that's right. It's all good. That's right. It's all good. So thank you, Dr. Geneva. I'll be in touch. I will send you the links.
Thank you.
And once you receive them, you can do it. Share them any way you'd like. I'll give you the YouTube link once that's up, as well as the MP3 link.
Thank you so much, and stay safe.
Thank you. You do the same. All right. God bless now.
Bye-bye.
Take care.